The Milwaukee Bucks followed up an embarrassing loss at home against the Knicks with a laugher against the Chicago Bulls with one of the biggest collapses of the season and arguably their worst loss of the season.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the industry, your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and the co-host of the Technical Foul podcast. Appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day, even after they get blown out by 27 to the Chicago Bulls in the game where they were up by 15 at half. But we're going to get into all of that. You can find Locked On Bucks free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with the college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. And let me tell you, the Milwaukee Bucks did not play their game, or arguably, they did play their game. The game that we saw from this Bucks before the last few weeks that kind of sprung some hope in the sense that not that this team was going to be a contender, but hope that this team was finding something out. And on today's show, we are going to talk about this collapse, try to break down what in the world happened, because after that game ended, I just kind of sat there and was like, what did I just watch? So we're going to try to break that down. We're going to take a look at what's next, what's ahead for the Bucks with another game coming at them tomorrow against the Celtics at home. But first, we have to start with the question of, was this the worst loss of the season for the Milwaukee Bucks? The Milwaukee Bucks were up 15 points at halftime. 15 points at halftime. And listen, being up at halftime is no indication that you are going to win a game. That ain't how it works. You got to play a full 48 minutes of basketball, right? But to be outscored 69-31 in the second half, 69-31 in the second half. They were outscored by 38 points in the second half. Like, the third quarter was already like, hey, this is kind of shaky, right? You're outscored 36-23 in the third quarter. But then in the fourth quarter, the piece de resistance for the stinker that was this game for the Bucks, they were outscored 33-8 in the fourth quarter. The Milwaukee Bucks, the professional basketball team that hails from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, scored 8 American points in the fourth quarter of this game. 8 whole points. That's it. And prior to them scoring those points, the Bulls were on a 27-0 run that went back into the fourth quarter. Like, you didn't even get your first field goal of the fourth quarter until 3 minutes, 12 seconds left when Ousmane Dieng had a dunk after the white flag had already been waved. The game was already over at that point. The only point you got prior to that dunk came from the free throw line. Kevin Porter Jr. hit 2 free throws with 5:51 remaining in the fourth quarter. 5:51 remaining was the first points the Bucks put on the board at all. Then you had Kyle Kuzma, who made one of his 2 free throws with 4:51 left. So a minute later, you got one more point, and then like a minute and a half later, you got a dunk, and then like 45 seconds after that, you had a Gary Trent Jr. 3. Those were the 8 points you scored the entire fourth quarter. That is unacceptable. And hey, here's the thing. Some of the shots they got in the fourth quarter were good looks, wide open looks that did not fall. But I think it started in that third quarter. I'm going to play a clip from Doc, and he saw the same thing here. The third quarter, the starters just played bad basketball. They had like five or six turnovers. I'm going to look up the number while Doc's talking to clarify that. They had like 5 or 6 turnovers to start the quarter in the third. Ball wasn't moving. Settling for jumpers. Too much dribbling. A lot of the same things that we have heard multiple times about this team. when they lose, when they're not playing right, it's normally the exact same game plan. And they fell into that same game plan again. Before I continue, let's hear what Doc Rivers had to say after the game about this particular loss that the Bucks took, because I have a lot more to say.
After crappy basketball for the first 11 minutes of this third quarter, the second group, they got us the 15-point lead. First group came in before halftime, lost it, and then regained it, and then lost it again. They lost two 15-point leads. The second group, there was a stretch in the second quarter where it couldn't have been more beautiful in the way the game was played. No dribbles, into the paint, they did everything you're supposed to do as a team. And then the first group came back in and did the exact opposite. And so, to me, when you have 7 or 8 minutes of that to start the third quarter, and then the group that got the lead came in and played right again, they just couldn't make shots. And to me, I don't know if there's such a thing as the basketball gods, but if there is, he was alive tonight. When you approach the game and play like that, you don't deserve to win. If we had won the game, I'd have been upset. I'd have taken the win because we need it. But that is not how you play basketball. And I don't know how many contested in-between jump shots we took in the third. I can't wait to look at it. It felt like every other shot was a contested, off the dribble, 16 dribbles, in-between jump shot. And that's the worst shot in the game, unless it's the last 5 seconds of the clock. So that was a disappointing loss, and I hope we all feel it.
Gotta feel it. Which brings me to my next question. Was this the worst loss of the season? And I want to hear from y'all in the comments. Some other candidates outside of this game, right? The Bucks lost to a struggling Kings team by 2 to start off the month of November, right? All the 3 losses to the Wizards. You beat the Wizards the very first game of the season, and then you lose to them on December 1st. You lose to the Wizards again on New Year's Eve. You lose to 3 losses to the Wizards. 3 of them. You lost to the Nets 127-82. That put y'all at 11-16. That's the second Wizards loss. As I was just mentioning, New Year's Eve, you lost by 1. You fell to 14-20. You lost to the Nuggets, who didn't have 4 starters to kick off the month of January, in the middle of January. You lose 108-104 to a team that doesn't have 4 starters. The very next game after that Nuggets game was the debacle against the Wolves at home, where the Bucks lost 139-106, where the fans were booing the team at home, and Giannis booed back. To me, that felt like the breaking point of the season. But maybe this is the new one. You lost to the Nuggets again, who were shorthanded again, 102-100 on January 23rd. You fall to 18-26 there. Then you lost to the Wizards for the third and final time, 109-99. That ended the season series. The Wizards beat the Bucks in the season series 3-1 this year. Now the Bucks are 18-20 after that Wizards loss. And then today, you lose to the Bulls, who were on a 11-game losing streak. You were up 15 points at half. You're outscored 38 points in the second half. The reason why this game in particular feels like it could take over for that Wolves game as the worst loss of the season for me is because of where in the season it occurred. This is the time where it is gut check time. You are fighting for your play-in life, not even your playoff life, your play-in life. And this is what we get. Let's break down the anatomy of this collapse, because I'm still a little bit in disbelief at what we saw at this point in the season from this team. So we're going to break that down, have some clips from more from Doc Rivers, a clip from Ryan Rollins, and something from Bobby Portis, all coming up right after this. This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. March is a time to celebrate women, especially around International Women's Day, a day that I particularly love. A day and a time just to recognize how much women carry between work and what we carry in relationships and families, And even in all the different unseen roles that we step into every single day, like it's really easy to celebrate a woman's strength, but it's also just as important to make space for our emotional well-being. And therapy can be one way to do that. I know so many different strong women in my life, and I always admire that. But there are times myself where I get looked at as that strong woman too, and I'm like, I'm not as strong as you think. I'm not as strong as you think. And I deserve that support. Women deserve that support. Men, everyone deserves that support. And therapy can help create balance and offer a space to focus on yourself. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp makes getting started simple. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks that first listen. Time is valuable. Once you spend it, you can't get it back. So you spending it with me, I definitely appreciate it. Got to shout out the everydayers, everybody in the Everydayer Club. If you're not part of that yet, you can still sign up. The Everydayer Club gives you Locked On Bucks with no interruptions, ad-free, plus access to a members-only Discord and more. All of that for $5 a month or $50 a year. So head to lockedonbucks.supercast.com or just check the link in the show notes to learn more. And now we got to try to learn more about what we saw from this Bucks team tonight, because my God, what happened here? What in the world? You can fill in the blanks multiple different ways. What in the what happened here? And when you look at the game, like the flow of it, right? The first quarter, Miles Turner started off super aggressive. He hit back-to-back catch and shoot threes to open things up. And then the two teams traded buckets. And in the first quarter, I was sitting there like, hey, it feels like at this point, whichever team decides to play some defense is going to win this game. The Bucks head into the second quarter up by 2. Second quarter, they're trading baskets again in the opening few minutes before the Bucks open up on a run of their own. 17-0 run gave the Bucks their biggest margin of victory at that point at 16, right? Bulls try to regroup, call a timeout. All right. And then even during that stretch, when the Bucks rattled off that 17-0 run, the most impressive thing about that run was that every single bucket the Bucks scored was assisted. Okay. That was like the peak part of the game. Like when Doc was talking about in the first segment, the clip I played, that was peak. That was it. That was the best the Bucks looked the entire game. Then the Bulls responded with a run of their own when the starters came back in, right? Cut the Bucks lead to 7. The Bucks responded with another run of their own, 11-2 to close the quarter. Shout out to AJ Green, who had a big shot. The 4-point play kind of helped swing things there at the end of that quarter. And then they go up in the half, up by 15. The Bucks then proceeded to have 6 turnovers in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter. After having 7 turnovers the entire first half, they almost matched that in the first 5 minutes of play. Next thing you know, it's a 1-point Bucks lead with like 5 minutes left in the game. You get Bobby Portis back in the game, who scored 11 points for the next couple of minutes there to help the Bucks get a lead again. They were up by 8, but then the defense got poor again, and then there was a 2-point Bucks lead heading into the fourth quarter. As I mentioned earlier, the Bucks won the third quarter, 36-23. 36-23. It's crazy. Fourth quarter. The Bulls open up the quarter on a 6-0 run. They tie the game up right away, take the lead, they push it, timeout, Bucks, right? The Bulls score another 4 points, with the last 2 points coming on this big dunk from Booz Ellis. After that dunk, Doc called another timeout. It had only been like a minute since the last timeout, but he said, I got to call another one. The Bucks had 1 timeout left at that point. The Bulls' run extended to 27 straight going back into that third quarter, up until Kevin Porter Jr. finally made that free throw that I mentioned. Like, what? You went 6.5 minutes of the fourth quarter without a bucket? Without a bucket? That's tough. That's tough to do. And I do think there's something like in that third quarter stretch where the ball got stagnated, it just didn't look right. And then when they finally started taking the right shots, they did not fall anymore at that point. And this is one of those games where, to me, everyone shares the blame. Everyone shares the blame. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because Doc Rivers said something that stood out to me, but also, again, made me point the finger at Doc Rivers as well and his coaching staff of like, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. Check out what Doc Rivers had to say.
What were you saying?
Yeah, defensively too. I mean, we think about it, we started out the game, we scored every time, and so did they. And then we got a couple of stops, and and then we put the second group in, and they got stops and scores. They played right. So obviously, late in the year, but that group has to perform or change.
That group has to perform or change, Doc Rivers said about the starting group on March 1st. You have to perform or something has to change. We all saw the same game. I say consistently, minutes are earned. Okay. I've also said at times, I don't trust this coaching staff to understand who to be putting in the game at what time. If you see the second unit is the unit that's playing the better ball, the unit that's doing the things that you want, the unit that's playing defense and scoring points, why are you not playing them? You can't control if a shot goes in or out, right? But you can control who's in the game. Have to be better. Have to be better. And that's why, like, when thinking about the ceiling of this team, this season, to start the year in the offseason, I say, hey, if you win a first-round playoff series, this season is a success in my book. That's it. Just try to win a first-round series. Ain't did that in some years. Can you do that? And now we're at a point here where you're seeing how a game is playing out, and you're still sticking with them. Like that run in the third quarter, I was confused as to why that group was still out there for so long. Like once he put those bench guys back in the game, you saw things start rolling. Now, again, the defense got wonky because, like I said, everyone is at fault in this game. And yes, Doc Rivers cannot make them make shots, but he can control who's out there on the court. I thought Ryan Rollins said something interesting as well, something that caught my eye. He was asked directly about the comments that Doc made about the difference between the first unit and the second unit, saying the first unit dribbled too much and the second unit did things better and what he saw out of it. The first part, all right, but it's the second part of what Ryan Rollins says that really caught my attention. Check this out.
Between the units?
Probably because the first unit was dribbling the ball more. I guess that's probably what he's seen. I can't tell him what he's seen, but I mean, regardless of the case, I feel like we just, when we did get the lead, we got to do a better job of just putting teams away, not giving them life, and just not getting content with, our little bit of success. I think that's the main part, too. And when we get down, too, don't overreact when, things are going our way. We got to stay the course, do what got us to lead in the first place, even if we're down, and just keep playing the right way. I think that's the biggest thing. Just don't overreact when things aren't going your way.
It's March 1st. We ain't learned that lesson yet. We are running out of time here. There is not that much time left. And with where the Bucks are in the standings, they're just, how is this lesson not learned yet? And again, this is part of why, again, I'm like, everyone's at fault. Doc Rivers is at fault. The starting group is at fault. The bench unit is at fault. Everyone is at fault in this game for this situation and for this season. Like, I already know the comments are going to be going crazy with the fire Doc Rivers, fire emoji with Doc emoji. It's all going to be there. And listen, go at it, because one, comments help the algorithm. Okay. I don't care. Comment away, need it. But also, like, at this point, I don't think the Bucks are going to make an in-season move on Doc Rivers. I just think that it's too far gone in either direction. It's too far gone. But in the offseason, that needs to be the first thing that is addressed, is this coaching staff. This is not good enough. This is not good enough for this group. This group consistently plays to less than the sum of their full parts. And I that's just the reality of this season. Hasn't been good enough from the coaching staff. Hasn't been good enough from the players. And in this game, you saw it. Everyone is at fault. But here's the thing about the NBA, right? You hear it often. You have a stinker. The good news is you have another game coming up real soon. And for the Bucks, they don't have to wait long at all because they have the Boston Celtics tomorrow in Milwaukee. So let's take a closer look at what's ahead for the Bucks and honestly, what's all at stake right after this. College basketball is non-stop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts, there is always action on the board. And now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win. With the college basketball parlay profit boost, you can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked games, whatever fits your need. Okay. You can make spreads and totals and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe or go bold. Ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay. It's your style. Now with more upside behind it. Head to fanduel.com to get started. That's fanduel.com. FanDuel, play your game. And please remember to gamble responsibly. This episode is also brought to you by Indeed because workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing, and still having that one position to fill is just sitting open, that can ramp up that pressure. And when the pressure is on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what it is that you're looking for. The skills, expertise, even location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right. Looking at what's next for the Bucks after a stinker of a game where, again, everybody plays a part in the fault of this game. Everybody. But you do have the Boston Celtics tomorrow. You have a chance at redemption. The game is right there. And the Celtics will also be playing the second night of a back-to-back tomorrow because they are in Philly tonight. As I record this, the game is tipping off in Boston against Philly. Not in Philly, but they're in Boston playing against Philly. And this is about to be the first of 4 back-to-backs that the Bucks have this month. If you look at the Bucks schedule for the rest of this month, again, very home heavy for this team until you get towards the end of the month. But you have a stretch here where you are playing consistent playoff teams, or at least teams that are in the playoff picture outside of Utah, Indiana, Utah again, and I guess you can say Portland and LA, the Clippers. But those are 2 teams kind of like they're still playing some basketball right now. So I want you to hear from Bobby Portis about after a game like this, how do you refocus? Because again, you hear so much about the next game. That's what you got to worry about, the next game. But you're also at a position where it is March 1st. Okay. You are 26-33, sitting at 11th in the Eastern Conference, trying to find your way into the playoff picture. You have games upcoming against some very, very big opponents. Like I mentioned, you have the Celtics tomorrow. You have Atlanta on Wednesday, a team that you are fighting for this play-in positioning with. You have Orlando again. You have Phoenix, who's been surprisingly good this season, even though Dillon Brooks is now out. You have Miami again, a team you need to try to get that tiebreaker over. You have Atlanta again. You have Cleveland, another one of the top teams in the East. You see Phoenix again. You play the Clippers at the end of the month, twice at the end of the month at that. You have the Spurs again. Like, there are some big games coming up against some real competition. So how do you stay focused on the task at hand?
I'm just looking forward to tomorrow. I think it's super important that we just take it one game at a time. You can't look at who you're playing Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. You have to just take it one game at a time, take care of that opponent, and then move on to the next game. That's the biggest thing. Can't look too far ahead and say, oh, we need to go 5-1. Oh, we need to go 6-1. No, we need to win the next game. So I think the biggest mindset is winning the next game and then moving forward there. Don't look too far down the line. Just stand in now. Obviously, let this hurt till midnight. Get over it. It's the NBA. It happens. Move on tomorrow. Play the Celtics. Get the ball back hopping. Have fun. Get the crowd involved. Get a win. Then move on to Wednesday.
That's exactly how I want the team to approach it. But we ain't on the team. We ain't lacing them up. We ain't going out there and playing the game, so we can be a little bit more far-sighted with how we're viewing the upcoming stretch for the Bucks. The good news about the stretch of games for the Bucks to end the rest of the season, if you head to tankathon.com, according to them, the Bucks have the 7th easiest schedule from here on out to finish the season out. The 7th easiest schedule, in large part because they have games against the Pacers. They got games, they got some easy games coming up. They do. So that's the good news. And if you look at that, hey, Miami has the 9th easiest schedule. So it's okay. They're ahead of you. Atlanta, they're kind of in the middle, but they're closer to having one of the easier ones than not. They have the 19th most difficult schedule. So what's that put them at? For the Bucks is 9, it's 11, 12, 13. So 14th easiest schedule. I know math. I can do math. You know what I'm saying? 14th easiest for the Atlanta Hawks there. Luckily, Orlando Magic, they're right in the middle. 15th most difficult schedule remaining for the squad. And the Bulls, who are behind the Bucks, have the 12th most difficult schedule in the league. You have the Charlotte Hornets, who are ahead of you with the 9th most difficult schedule left in the league. And yeah, those are really the teams that are right ahead of you in that play-in battle that you're keeping an eye on. So at least you have the easiest schedule out of those teams ahead of you. But that means nothing if you don't execute. That means nothing if you haven't learned that, hey, listen, going forward here, we cannot let bad offense affect our defense, which we saw happen against the Knicks. We saw it happen again against the Bulls tonight. That cannot happen. You cannot get too high in the game where you start feeling yourself too much and then you lose the lead. You can't get too down on yourself in the game where all hope is lost and now that's the end of the road. Like a lot of the things that we have talked about with this Bucks team throughout the season, this would be how my mom used to feel when she had to continuously correct me on the same things. Camille, I told you to take that chicken out the freezer. Why do you keep letting this not happen? Why do you keep forgetting to do this? All summer. It was like a month one summer. I just kept forgetting. I tell you what, after she laid into me that last time, I didn't forget again. I did not forget again. And at this point, the Bucks have to figure it out of how they cannot forget the lesson again. We're in March. It's too late to still be having these conversations. So we'll see what the Bucks give us tomorrow. We're right back at it. Should be another post game coming. I believe it'll be myself and Frank for that one tomorrow. We'll be throwing another bonus game day bonus episode your way, previewing the Celtics matchup for you tomorrow in the morning as well. We appreciate you for tuning in. That's going to wrap up today's show of Locked On Bucks after just a disappointing game against the Bulls. Was really expecting a bounce back game from the Bucks after the way they got embarrassed at home by the Knicks. But nope. This is what we got instead. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, making Locked On Bucks your first listen. Make sure you subscribe. And again, check out the Everydayer Club. It's built for you. Get the podcast ad-free. Join our members-only Discord. Head to lockedonbucks.supercast.com to join the club or check the description link below. If you want video, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On the audio side of things, make sure you make that second listen of yours, NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA. Truly do appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. Make sure you keep it locked in for more Milwaukee Bucks coverage as the rest of this season unfolds in whatever way it's about to unfold.